Hello all, welcome back to the Best Self Therapy YouTube channel, which you know is the home for the tips and tricks and skills and tools and all the fun things to help you better manage your mental health so you can live a better life as your best self. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another video. Happy June. I think summer has officially kicked off, which wherever you are, Minnesota is super exciting to have summer because it lasts for like 2 weeks. I'm kidding, but happy June. This month, I want to talk about a specific part in a blog that I wrote not too long ago. I wrote a blog about tips for overcoming depression. And in that blog, I talk about the difference between symptoms and root causes. So if you want a little bit more information on that, I have linked to this blog below so you can read up on that. But I want to specifically talk about and highlight 3 questions that you can explore to start identifying how your symptoms are impacting you when it comes to mental health. This is going to be specific to depression just because this is what I wrote it on. But again, these questions, like most things, can be applicable to any sort of mental health battle that you're experiencing: depression, anxiety, grief, divorce, alcoholism, whatever it might be. So use these questions in whatever area you need. Just for the purpose of this blog, but based on how it was written in this video, I'll be referencing them in regards to depression. So let's dive in. When I am working with clients on addressing symptoms of whatever they're coming in with, whether it's depression, anxiety, grief, whatever it might be, when I'm working with them on addressing symptoms, I've kind of broken it down into a 3-step process. So the first step is obviously going to be identifying the symptoms. It's pretty hard for us to address the symptoms if we don't know what symptoms we're looking at. So this is specifically the area that I'm going to walk you through today. Once you've identified the symptoms, you then want to identify how are those symptoms showing up. So this comes from the idea that there are kind of universal ways that the depression, anxiety, grief, whatever it might be, can show up or that we expect it to show up. But the way in which it manifests will look different for everybody. So if you're facing sadness, frequent sadness, that may look different for you than it looks to somebody else. So once you identify the symptoms, which is what we're going to focus on today, you then want to identify how are those symptoms showing up for you? How are they manifesting for you? And then lastly, you want to implement some tools to help you begin to manage those symptoms. So today, like I said, we're just going to focus on 3 questions that are going to help you identify the symptoms that you might be facing. And then if you want more guidance on how to identify how they're manifesting and then what tools to use, please reach out to me, schedule a 15-minute consultation, and we'll explore that together. There are some other resources that I've linked below, but let's dive into looking at what are the 3 questions we can explore to begin identifying the symptoms that you might be facing. Before I jump into guiding you through some of the questions to start identifying what symptoms you might be facing, I want to make sure that you're in a space that has minimal to no distractions so you can really focus on this, and then have something that you can write your answers down with. Pen and paper. If you want to use a phone to type or your computer to type, fine. Just make sure that notifications are shut off so you don't get distracted, because I really want you to invest the next couple of minutes into yourself to really start exploring and figuring out how is this mental health battle that you're facing showing up in regards to symptoms? What symptoms are you working with? Okay, so the first question we're going to explore is, what behavioral changes do you notice when depression or anxiety, grief, whatever it might be, is present? What behavioral changes do you notice when depression is present? So this could be, do you notice that you become a little bit more irritable? Do you notice that you lack motivation? Do you notice that you feel a little bit more lethargic? Do you isolate? What are the behavioral shifts that you notice that could lead you to believe that depression is present? If you need to pause this video to think about it, please do. But I'm going to move on to the next question, but you can always pause, fast forward, rewind, do all the fun stuff. Your next question that you're going to explore is, what is the nature of your thoughts? Are there times when those thoughts sound different? So if your narrative is typically a little bit more optimistic, do you notice a shift in that? Do you notice that your thoughts might become a little bit more paranoid, or your thoughts might become a little bit more sad or pessimistic? What is the nature of your thoughts? And are there times where those thoughts sound different? And if so, explain how they sound different. So again, go ahead and pause the video. I know this one feels kind of like an in-depth, complex question, so please be sure to take time to identifying what are the thoughts. And this one, you might have to come back to. This one, you might have to go, okay, I'm going to stay mindful of the thoughts that I'm having on a daily basis. I'm going to jot them down. And then when I feel the depression, because I'm more irritable, I'm sad, I'm isolated, right? Whatever behavioral changes you just identified, when that's present, I'm then going to look at, do my thoughts sound different? So this might be a question that you continue to work on as you move about your day, and you may not have answers to right now. That is okay. It's good to stay aware. We're going to move on to the next question. The last question I want you to explore when working on identifying the symptoms that you're facing is, how does your body feel when depression is present? I've talked about in many different videos and blog articles that the mind and body are connected. So when one is not doing well, chances are the other is not doing well also. We also know that mental health has a lot of physical, somatic representations. A lot of people will explain understanding that they had their first panic attack because they felt they were having a heart attack. So we know that there's a lot of somatic experiences when a mental health battle is present. So how does depression or anxiety, grief, whatever it might be, how does that show up in your body? Do you notice a tightness in chest? Do things just feel heavy? Does your stomach feel knotted, and does it turn? Does it feel uneasy? For me, I know if I have a lot of ruminating thoughts, my head actually hurts. Like, I get to a point where I'm like, my head hurts. So then I know my brain and thoughts have probably been working a little bit more overtime than is typical. So again, this might be one that you continue to stay aware of as you move about your days. And when you know depression is present because of the behavioral changes that you've just identified are there, stop and think, okay, how is this feeling in my body? A lot of people will say, well, I just feel sad. Okay, how does sadness feel in your body? A lot of people will describe sadness as feeling like a tightness in their throat because they can feel the urge to cry, or they're resisting the urge to cry. Eyes might feel warm and watery, right? You might feel more lethargic and just kind of heavy. So whatever behavioral changes or emotions that you're experiencing coming up for you, how does that present in your body? These 3 questions are going to help you better understand what symptoms you're facing and then how they're kind of impacting you, which is then going to help you or your professional, your mental health professional that you're working with, if you have one, guide how you want to treat that per se, reduce some of those symptoms so you can better manage moving forward. How did that feel for you? How did that exercise go? What did you think of the questions? Were you able to find some answers? Were there some that you maybe left unanswered? If you have some questions that you weren't able to answer, that is okay. Don't fret. I tell clients that is also an answer. No answer is also an answer. And as a clinician, that helps me better understand where you are in your process and with your understanding, which is then going to help me better guide you, because then we might first start working on, we definitely will start working on how to help you identify those symptoms so you know what they are, when they come up, and how they impact you. Because without that information, we really can't go anywhere. We could, but I would be doing you a disservice if we did. So don't fret if you don't have answers to these. You can either reach out to a mental health professional for guidance on getting answers to these. I do offer a free 15-minute consultation if that's something you're interested in, would like some guidance around. Or, like I said, especially with the last two, remain aware of those questions as you move about your day. And if you notice a shift in the behaviors, right, the changes in the behaviors that you identified in the first question, if you notice those coming up, pause and think about the other two questions to help you better understand how are those symptoms showing up for you, what are those symptoms, and how do they impact you. Once we do that, like I said, then you're going to work further into identifying how do those actually manifest, what do those actually look like, and then what are the tools that you're using to implement to help reduce the frequency, the intensity, the impact of those symptoms, all of that fun jazz. If you want additional resources to that, I have linked a couple of below to address some of the manifestations and some different tools that you can use. But your best bet is going to be reaching out to a mental health professional if you feel that you've gotten to a point of like, I can't do this. I don't know how to manage these symptoms anymore. I need some help. No fret. No worries at all. Check out last month's video talking about some of the top 3 common myths, the 3 top common myths, because I give some pointers on where to look for some of that professional help. And then, of course, I am always happy to connect with you if that is something that you're interested in. If this video resonated with you, if you found these questions helpful, and if there's someone in your life that you believe would also benefit from these questions, please pass it along so they can also get these questions answered, get these tools and resources in their toolbox for later if they need them, so they can also live a better life as their best self. You may also want to share this on the socials, the social media. If you do, fantastic. Please be sure to tag me at Best Self Therapy so I can give you a shout out myself and thank you for sharing this, and know that you are playing a part in removing the stigma of mental health and helping people live a better life as their best self when you pass this information along. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another month. I will see you next month. Take care of yourself, and I wish you all the best on discovering your symptoms and how they're showing up for you and how they impact you. Please reach out if you need me. Otherwise, here's to living a better life as your best self. We'll see you next month.